A lot of my team members ask me about this element of what do I tell? How do I tell my story? And what are the elements involved in telling that story? And so, really, the idea here is to talk a little bit about how do you set up the story that you're going to use in your presentation. So, what the good stories provide? They lead the audience to make sort of key connections and help you connect to the audience. So, there's things like emotional connections that you wind up stroking the emotions, making your pitch relatable and memorable or more memorable to the audience. And it's the case of case competitions and case solving, that means is more memorable for the judges. And it's important because generally there are a number of teams that are presenting over a time period throughout the day. And those judges have to remember what these are about when they get to those final deliberations. Idea of deeper engagement, having the judges, having your audience connect with those stories, getting stronger engagement, creating some loyalty, creating some advocacy in the room in terms of those discussions judges have. And I've seen this happen in the past with teams. I had one team a number of years ago that created a great story, and it led one judge to really connecting with that and really advocating within the judge's room after all the presentations were done in terms of, yes, this was the best presentation, this was the best solution out there. Making it different, making a compelling story helps you stand out from your competitors. How do you differentiate? And I talk to my teams about this all the time. You have to differentiate yourself from a lot of the other teams that are there. Otherwise, the judges just see these presentations that are all the same. Trust, creating authenticity, creating relatability. And again, that's where the story helps build that trust with your audience. And in a lot of cases, it can show how you relate to the product, the service, how you relate to the solution, what you understand in terms of the context better than other teams, and using that relationship to that understanding better to relate to the judges and tell them that, yeah, this is that best solution. What are the elements? So you have to go through and identify the story, and it has to be tied to the organization's missions, values, what makes that organization unique. It's also important to try to get to know your audience, who you're trying to connect with, what are their values, their needs, their aspirations. At some case competitions, pitch competitions, they'll tell you who's in the audience, who are your judges, and really go out and research and figure out what are they looking for. Again, tying it also in a case solving competition back to the case, because those judges are role playing the characters within the case themselves. And hopefully the judges have done their homework and tried to learn how those people, who the characters are representing, might react to your solution. And in some cases, it's a live company. You're talking to the company itself. So, really having that understanding. Again, there's some limitations there in terms of, in a case competitions, there's limited information available to you often in terms of the case. So there's some issues there that somehow need to be resolved, but that can help happen through things like a more compelling narrative, telling that story that resonates with the audience, highlights the organization's unique selling points, connecting it back to your experiences as a customer or a consumer, and thinking about what happens when you sit in the audience. What would you like to hear? And if you're pretending to be that character or thinking about that character that the judge is representing, what do they want to hear? And then maintaining that idea of a consistent brand voice and message across all your storytelling efforts. And again, this helps in terms of the team, especially in multi-case case solving competitions, where you can start to create that brand, that message across the team, and it just helps the team be better, connect better, and deliver the message a lot better. Really, when it comes down to it, the idea is you need to create some authenticity and relatability. So, creating that genuine story that reflects the organization's values, creates that emotional engagement with your audience, with those judges, making sure the judges understand that, we understand where you're at, right? I think nowadays it's really important also to create that story and show your solution helps the customer solve the problems, achieve their goals, get over the pain points that they see. And again, relating this back to what the judges, what role they're taking on in terms of listening to you in a case solving competition. And then, if you can be, visual images, videos, other visuals to enhance the storytelling, make it more engaged. Try to minimize what's on the slides and create more of a story. It's they're there to hear you talk about the solution, not to read about it on their slides. So the idea of the slides just being visual, being cues for you to sort of look at and sort of, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to talk about. This is what the story, this is the part of the story that I'm supposed to tell them at this point in time. And hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea in terms of how to create that story that's going to be more relatable, more authentic, and reach out and engage your audience as you're going through and talking about the solutions that you have.